going on? Another episode of a podcast. This one's another review episode. So if you want to hear about how season 2 went, we're going to do the same thing, I guess I did for season 1 here. Use my phone as kind of a director to even remember the order of the episodes that we have. Every episode's been extra special on here to have folks. But so we're just going to run through season 2. We've made a couple adjustments. We went 100% virtual background instead of our initial season with like the Leafs or whatever. So that was like a big visual change. And we kind of improved some other tech along the way here, including mics and testing out different sets of headphones along the journey, just to have some backdrop there. But let's dive into our guests. So one of our first episodes that we had into season 2. I'm going to start at episode 51 for us, and I'm pretty certain that was where we kicked things. We left things off was with the leap from season 1, which was a crazy, like unreal story of a local guy from Winnipeg here that does these wild endurance runs and such. And so that's where we left off last time. Our first episode in the new year in 24, very beginning of this year, was Grant McDonald and the Bobo app. And Grant and his wife are doing this amazing app around, I guess, having children ultimately, and the whole child birth process, a little bit of an app to be able to test things off, of connect with experts in different areas. I think it's a fantastic technology that they're creating here, a resource of services that they've done here. And so Grant and Claudia, although they were both not on that episode, Grant walked through that with me there. And shout out to Grant from when we first met working at Adidas selling shoes. So really funny connection there. The next one we moved into is David Awasi, and it's with Outreach Genesis, a really cool AI tool that we were able to actually tour a little bit on that episode. I can't remember if we shared that on the screen or not, but David does a really cool thing in terms of like providing leads for folks, works with some big companies, both locally and internationally, to help find more leads. So check that one out. Also, David was on TEDx Winnipeg for an episode. Mike Carnival and the 21-day killer closer course. Mike is the guy, he's out of Florida, and he does this coaching for closing sales. Really cool experience actually was I did Mike's training, and just really neat guy in terms of sharing his storyline. I used to own some gyms and then got into this coaching side of things. Ended up networking through with Mike, I guess we'll say, in other businesses, and it's been really great to have him on the episode and hear what he has to offer there. And then episode, I guess it was 55 on here, Allison Ritchie and the Grand Voyage Herbals. Allison does a couple of things. A lot of it is like holistic health, as well as like treating things with food and diet, and just really going back to basics, I think, is the ultimate thing. A lot of it was related to women's health and birth as well, which is incredibly interesting to hear her take on diet and overall health from that perspective. The episode is incredibly interesting. There's tons of depth in there. If you haven't checked out an episode from this season, that would be one of my top recommendations, outside of everyone else being awesome and having their own story. That one had an extra jam-packed episode though, so I would recommend. And then now become a friend, Matt Hill, Vertical Life Coaching. Met him through some training that we took actually with Mikey, and Matt is left the corporate scene to do coaching and offer some guidance from his 10 years plus experience in corporate America. And he's having some success with that and offering kind of almost like a camp like style setting for folks to get out and have a retreat, I guess would be the best word for that one. So, and then the next one here is back to the athletic side of things. Jessica, dietitian and entrepreneur. She runs Speed and Savory. It's a fantastic coaching regimen that she runs for runners. She is a speedster, to say the least. She also runs another business here locally in Winnipeg. So some really cool tips within that episode there. She does a lot of talking about food as fuel, which is a completely different kind of like approach, I think, to the way most people look at food and just like eating and stuff. And she really takes looking at dietary stuff to the next level. The next one we had on here, episode 58, Dino Stepik. Dino sells homes. Dino's a real estate agent. He also does have a podcast that he runs. And he has a very, warm, welcome approach to his business, as well as spending a lot of time being an advocate for men's mental health. And he does a lot of fundraising with that. And Dino's just like a local good guy I met along the journey and had him on the podcast. So check him out if you haven't. And then the strongest man we've had on, strongest human we've had on the episodes, Andrew Langelaar. And Andrew is like a Canadian strongman. He may critique how I'm saying that, but he is a guy's lifting up a bunch of big, heavy things and putting them down. And he won some contests since we've had him on. We're excited to have him on again and actually talk about what is going on his end of things in future seasons, because he's had some other accomplishments since then. So great conversation with Andrew about his journey, and as well actually looking at like fitness, health, diet in a very serious manner. He's now obviously created like a business for what he's doing. He's doing very awesome at that. So check that one out for a strongman side of things. And Jennifer Antonio with Dragonfly Branding on a podcast here. Jennifer runs a branding company a little bit different from obviously what we do on like the marketing side podcasting. She is more, we talked colors, we talked fonts, different brand kits, the importance of having those different like brand kits and stuff like that all set up and ready to go for your company. She's a crucial part of having the success, I think, within a successful brand. So Jennifer went into a great level of detail in this one. Really cool episode. Strongly recommend checking that one out as well. Amy Hamilton, Poppy and Cosmo Creative. We first connected, I think, on products of positivity in terms of like those card decks. If you've ever seen them, pull a card out today, has a word or a note of affirmation on there. And she's kind of branched out. Even on the episode, she was sharing some other products that she's making, but a local, I guess, maker, marketer in the Saskatoon area, and is now kind of expanding into other stores and growing from there. So the next one we had on is Jesse Murphy and Murph Customs. Jesse is kind of like a mutual connection for a long time here. Bumped to have him on. He on Murph Customs, he's doing custom wrapping of vehicles, but also different things within your house. So things like your cupboards, it depends on like the wood or metal finish that's going on, or a fridge. He can kind of do a mix of stuff. It was really interesting to have him on. His expertise, I guess, we'll say in his industry was in like signage, so signs on the fronts of buildings, and then got into wrapping vehicles and so on and so forth. And Jesse's just a pretty cool guy to have on the episode there. So very interesting learn. And on the business side of things, if you need a vehicle wrapped, you should check them out. And Christina San at 6 Degree Photo Booth, such an interesting podcast to talk about the journey of leaving a job to go chase down this side job thing that kind of was taking off and is now across Western Canada, if not further now from when I'm doing this review of season 2 here. So that's such a cool one. 6 Degree Photo Booth. They're doing tons of stuff at events. Really cool business to check out and try them out if you're hosting an event in terms of needing a photo booth or photo capabilities. So yeah. And then our next episode is Tahira Jamani, and The Chain Reaction is the name of her company. Such an interesting conversation around kind of like, or I guess the psychology of some business stuff, burnout, avoiding that. We've spoke quite a bit since that episode about business and how she's doing, and traveling around doing that business and offering like coaching for both like small to large companies and trainings for them about how to best manage different aspects of the workday, work environment. Really dynamic human we had on the episode here. So yeah, very cool episode 64. Episode 65, Nilesh Jain. And he's a gentleman who actually runs a podcast out of India. We had him on, and he speaks with like high-end successful folks out there. I think his minimum is you have to be like a millionaire to be on the episode. It's kind of neat to hear his take on podcasting, but also the folks that he's had the opportunity to interview and their stories on how they found along their own journeys. And after that episode with Nilesh, we go more local. So we go partway across the world. And then on episode 66, we have Connor with Glassjar Games. I know it more of an acronym now is GJG on some of their logoing, but Connor and his business partner, David, started creating like smaller games and such for, people that have kind of like starting off game company with a lot of card decks being made, them doing all the manufacturing. Super neat to see how they've like created more efficient use of like boxes in terms of the boxes having like instructions and everything in there. And I think they're really onto something. They continue to push out and be at local markets and events as far as that goes. So that was really neat episode to learn about that from Connor. I'm a big fan of game nights, board games, otherwise. So just kind of a hoot there to learn more about him and his business journey. And then 67, Stefan with Flat Out Business. This is a gentleman, another business partner, have a podcast to do business coaching. I just kind of had networked through the podcast world. So it was great to have Stefan on and just chat more about what they're doing to help businesses grow in terms of like with managing CRMs. So folks that aren't familiar with that, customer relationship management tools, kind of like an internal Facebook or social media, but for your company where you take notes and do different things. And so we get talking about lots of business stuff on that episode. And then we move over again, I guess a little bit more traveling, but episode 68 with Michael Mitchell. Stay Wild is his Stay Wild Copy, is his copywriting company that he does writing with and copywriting with. And Mikey's just a cool guy. Known him for a while, and we caught up, talked a little bit of business, and then we got to have you on the podcast to share your story. So he's living a little bit of a nomad life, but traveling around, doing business, helping folks write and copyright. So if you're interested in anything like that, check out Mikey. Episode 69, Rachel with Bungalow ID. This is such a cool combo. It caught me by surprise actually when we were having this episode. I remember doing research on Rachel and her business ahead of time, and I was thinking, okay, like they probably do like some slightly different like layouts and stuff, but it's way more in depth than that in terms of like her design background and how they totally transform your space without having a like tear down situation. They can have a huge impact on changing your home, office, other spaces. They mostly specialize in residential from that conversation of what we talked about there. So that was just such a neat one. If you're looking to redo your house, design something in the Winnipeg area, I would say go check Rachel and her team out. And then episode 70, we have Peter with Dominion Lending and Mortgages. This was so cool. And at the moment we recorded this episode, I know that there was lots of stuff happening with mortgage rates. There still is, like it's all over like the news and stuff. But I mean, the way that Peter was able to describe what he sees on the daily, and with I think it was like 20 plus years experience is what Peter laughed and said that aged him. But it was very interesting to hear from his perspective, like everything that goes into that. The earlier you can talk to an expert, the better. Having basics of paperwork set up ahead of time is wonderful as far as that goes. And just like the amount of things that they can do to help you if you are in a situation of need and help for changing rates, life circumstances change, you're looking to get into rental properties, commercial stuff. They kind of had the works covered there. And I think with that many years experience, I would, recommend reaching out to Peter if you're local on that one, or at very least talking to an expert. It was great to hear someone from that industry speak so passionately about what they do and hear their side of the business. On the next episode, 71, Sean Frost. So real estate, soccer, real estate investing out in the Ottawa area. Sean and I got connected through social media, and Sean's just doing a bunch of really cool stuff out there. He tells a very unique story, as many entrepreneurs do, about getting started, taking that first risk, getting that check. I think it was for $20,000 from his bank that he had no idea how he was going to pay it back. And he runs through the stresses, I'll say, of doing that on his journey, but the ultimate payoff of taking that risk and trying out something new changed his life. So that was a cool startup story to hear there. Brunel Sabrin on a podcast here is the next episode 72. So Brunel is in the agriculture space on in the agronomy side of things. So that would be more like plant health, monitoring fields with him and his team. And yeah, he runs a ton of data and analytics in the Red River Valley area specifically, so just south of Winnipeg here in the agricultural side. And Brunel was just so insightful to share more along his journey. We used to work together in ag, but he's really taken things in his area to the next level of data collecting and being able to share that information to help other farmers out on their journeys. Just some coffee here as we sip through episode 73. So we're almost at getting about halfway through here. So Janelle Locke, and this was an ag one, but it's closer to home. This is more like a homestead style farm in terms of local produce. And Janelle tells the story of getting this thing started and just really like not having a ton of experience in this exact space, but just having so much passion behind it that there was no room for failure. Ultimately, they have had some failures obviously within the journey. It was so cool to hear what Janelle's growing both like plant wise and animal wise, and how everything is just so interconnected on the farm at that level. And you can just hear her passion about it. And it's almost one of those things that you can almost like kind of like taste the food through the episode. We're talking about the stuff, and when you go to a market garden and you have these organic foods that have like been from like a backyard garden kind of thing. And I'm saying that in like this is a big backyard garden. And that flavor is going to be so much more intense than something that you get from the grocery store. Next episode 74. This was a funny one. Doug Thompson here. Funny for a couple reasons. Doug is a super passionate, also getting into like business coaching and stuff, works in corporate America still, does triathlons. We had a lot in common right away. So this is kind of close to home, easy to chat through episode. It just felt like a conversation with Doug. It was a great one though. Should definitely check that one out. Episode 74. 75, we do kind of like, I guess we hit in some more ag stuff in here. So Dwayne Thiessen on the episode here. Dwayne's business is renting out large scale equipment to farmers, again, just south of Winnipeg. And actually, believe it's like south and west Winnipeg. He has quite a reach in that regard. It was just cool to hear that side of business, how important that is to help farms and have that equipment available for them, and how specifically 2 times a year he's in high demand, spring and fall. So before the crop goes in and after the crop comes off, and just talking about those intense moments. He's obviously, this stuff is used throughout the year depending on what the farm is on that side of things. So then we kind of go, a little bit of a trip here travel wise. 76, Hans Daus, Tentacle, literally using one of his products right now while recording this for holding the phone. So it's this. He is known online, I guess, for being on Shark Tank and closing a deal there with this product that's literally right in front of me holding my phone. And yeah, it's a suction cup style tripod that you can put on a lot of different things, holds your phone. You can hold different camera settings on here too, like in terms of the attachments that you can put on this device. Mostly it's meant to hold your phone. So we had Hans on talk about his experience pitching on Shark Tank and chat about how the product's going today. It's super cool. I mean, love following the journey since we've had him on here. So, and then we have Phil Squarey, and from episode 77 here, Phil, local owner of Lux Barbecue and Furniture Company. And Phil's just fun, great guy to have on here, talk about what's going on in the industry, actually, and how much tech is involved in getting involved in barbecuing nowadays. Whether you be smoking, charcoal, barbecue, all the tech that's in there, monitoring how you're cooking your food, and really where that industry is kind of headed. So it's not just a barbecue that you light anymore. There's a lot more to it. And Phil has just some like really cool products that they carry there. I mean, a very popular one that everyone would know would be Yeti products from his end of things. Then we shift back to ag here with Mylin Dunbar and Next Gen Drainage Solutions. So more of ag field draining. So if you were to imagine like to tile in the sense of put drainage underneath a field to help improve its productivity. It's quite the task that they take on in terms of doing that for an entire fields and sections of land there. So Milan was very, very interesting to have on the podcast. Just a different perspective on what you can do with like land and agriculture. Very cool episode to have him on here. And then 79, Carl Redicott, Instant Traction. Known Carl for a while. I wish I had the product to hold up in front of me. I know it's not far away. But basically, a strap that goes on your tire, you can have it in your vehicle. If you get stuck, you can strap it on your tire. Anyone can strap these things on. They have a big impact on like semi trailers, but as well as everyday vehicles. He gave a couple examples of being stuck out on ice while ice fishing can be a common thing, and it's quite dangerous to be stuck out on a frozen lake in the heart of winter. So a really good product to have on you in your vehicle when you're out doing things like that. And yeah, just overall really cool product that he's designed, manufactured, and patented. And yeah, so episode 79, wonderful to have Carl on and chat about that. Episode 80, Will Wise Otero. He is a podcaster of the States. During the day, he manages the Florida Casino, I believe was the title, and then he podcasts. And he started back in 2020, and he has a very unique storyline of some pretty tragic events that happened in his life, actually, even while he was starting the podcast. And it was really inspirational to hear what he's gone through and what inspires him to continue doing his podcast and story sharing there. So Will is a episode that is near and dear to me from this season. Very cool. And then 81, Janelle Malapad on a local runner. Again, we have some pretty crazy endurance athletes on here, and the next episode is not a lot different when I jump to that one. But Janelle does a lot of running and fundraising for men's mental health, as well as other local charities. He's ran across the province, which is, I believe he told me, it's about a week long. You're running. I don't know if it's 5, 7 days, however we calculate that week, but he's done that once. He wants to do it again, but faster or further. I forget what he was saying about that on the episode specifically, but he shares this story of being able to raise funds for 25 plus charities on his journey. He's having a huge impact on the community. It was a pleasure to have him on episode 81. So, and our next one, episode 82, Leanne Taylor, phenomenal athlete. She competes in the Paralympics in triathlons, which again, near and dear to my heart. Leanne sometimes trains at the same pool, or often do. She is a speedster in there. And we got to talk about her journey. Both she was in a cycling accident that caused her spinal injury, and then she took that and has literally run with that into being a para athlete and at an Olympic level. She won a bronze representing Canada at the Paralympics this past year. And she's incredibly humble about it, but she's also just a great energy person. On that episode, you can see the energy when we're chatting there, just about how positive she is about everything that she has going on now, and the impact that she's having on other folks in the local and further out communities. So Leanne was a pleasure to have on. Great episode to check out from us. Episode 83, Michelle Leclerc, Woolsey Kombucha. This is a product that I actually normally like sipping on either before an episode. When we're recording on Wednesdays is normally when we're doing this. And it's just super cool to have Michelle on for this episode and hear her journey of like starting kombucha to make it to help herself with her own gut health, and just truly so passionate about what she does and how she gets her product out to market and to other people, and having an impact on their lives, and how important gut health is. So great episode to hear about what kombucha is, how it can help you, and how she's growing that business. Episode 84, Jordan LaBelle, Evergreen Growth Collective. Jordan has a multitude of experiences in business with some tech startups, and in terms of what he's doing there. So they're doing consulting with companies to help them grow, and really find out how they can help companies get to the next level. He wants to be there as a coach and advocate. They're there to help. If you're local to the Winnipeg area there, I think it's definitely something that you should connect with Jordan on. If that's something that you're into and need an extra set of hands, eyes, or brains just to discuss what's going on in your business. So great share there. 85, Ajitha with us here. And Ajitha used to work as well at Connection through Doug. Shout out to Doug here for connecting us. Ajitha does 20 years in corporate leadership, and then has left to do coaching training within companies to help them improve and exceed goals as far as that goes. She was super dynamic, taking some risks along the journey. Really great episode to check out there. Episode 86, Dr. Stephanie on here is Stephanie Snell, and just formerly a vet, but we actually ended up talking about more of this helping other vet clinics and mental health and flow state of mindset is where she's headed in some of her coaching practices, which is incredibly cool to have her on to learn about, just the impact that that can have on someone in the clinic, how they operate, energy, and how important that is in terms of having a positive outlook, obviously. But she breaks it down in a way that it is tough to do. There's a lot of stresses out there, and she walks us through some of her, real lived experiences on that episode. Okay, episode 87, David Sienna. David, a former similar role to me in my real estate time. We get through a lot of stuff on this episode here about what David's doing now, having an impact on helping people grow their business. Specifically, I would say in the real estate spaces where he's really strong, but taking his practices and going offline. David is incredibly well read. You'll hear a lot of quotes from him in the episode about different books that he's reading or read already, and it shows in there. It's a very cool conversation that we have there. Episode 88, I do a review of season 1 because we didn't do that. So if you want to hear about season 1, go to that episode. Episode 89, Daniel Yorsch, and he is with a tech startup based out of here in Winnipeg called Arrival, working with private schools in terms of a software program that helps them better plan for everything on the back end of their schooling and students and parents. Connecting everyone, I think, is the best way I can describe what they're doing. Daniel's just got a really cool approach to how they manage and run that tech business. Fantastic work, Daniel and team. Episode 90 is Sarah and Dave with Ash Halo. DJs out of Winnipeg, met through another client of ours on the marketing side. Such a cool couple. They had some hiccups along the journey in terms of some health stuff, family life going on, in terms of continuing on with tour, and the flu of 2020 caused some disruption on their travels there as well. So they were just talking about where they were headed, and then they're kind of getting back on track to go and do a bunch of releases this year. So if you don't already follow Ash Halo and you made it this far in the episode, go and do that on Spotify or wherever you listen to your music. Really dynamic couple, and their music is very unique from that end of things there. So would encourage you to check that out. Episode 91, I went through why we started. I felt it was important to explain, how this whole thing got going. So I won't spill the beans on that whole episode there, but you should check it out. And then we have 92, Cindy Chang, a fellow podcaster, but Business Evolve Consulting. Her main goal in the new year for her is to help employ moms that are taking care of the household, but still have time during the day to help run big corporate companies with that flexible schedule, probably being closer to home realistically with kid drop off and pick up. She goes into detail about the challenges there would be for having someone go into the traditional work environment of driving down to an office and such. But she has a different approach and angle on that. And it's very interesting to hear her discuss exactly what's going on there for, all of the things to do with working remote and how companies could certainly take advantage of, following that model, we'll say, as far as that goes. So other episodes that we have coming up that are going to be released, I'm recording this a little ahead of time they're released, but Martin Dasco, a gentleman out of Toronto, met him over the last couple of years here. Martin is a writer, but also a serial entrepreneur. He's big in ice baths, so I can't not mention that. He competitively plays soccer, but he has a big impact on the local business scene out in Toronto. So you should go check out Martin's story. He's got a pretty good one out there. And then we have Andy Weeb, who, came into the episode here working in a tech part of the ag space in terms of fractionally or tokenizing land. And I'll leave it at that for, that side of his business there. Definitely a neat thing that he's trying to do there, making land more affordable for people to purchase land and make land purchases on the farm side, because it is a very heavy investment, and it's very interesting to hear his take on how he wants to impact the agriculture scene. Kyle Goldstein, now become a good brand and marketing pal. We met on a panel earlier this year, and just a really fantastic guy. He's done some great work helping launch brand experiences with certain companies, both locally here in Winnipeg and internationally. That one's so cool. If you like, Kyle has planned some really cool events, very customized for uh, bigger corps that want to, yeah, I guess kind of change their culture within the company or have these different cultural experiences to really, yeah, enable the entire team to be excited. And he's had a big impact on companies both locally and internationally. So check that one out. Alex Stewart at Standard Carbon. I'm super interested personally in this topic as a whole. We got talking about carbon credits and I guess like how that is going to unfold in the future um, for us and what that's really going to mean for companies in the future and how they're doing like the auditing or accounting software to do with that particular space. So definitely one you want to check out. The next one we have on the order here is Alex Jordan. Now, Alex is launched an app called Lend It, and it's an app that is connecting people and things and spaces. And she goes in a little bit more detail about how that got started for her. She's out of Saskatchewan. Wanted to launch this app to make it more accessible to get connected with items for rent instead of having to go out and purchase them perhaps, or even if you don't want to like own the thing long term, just having a way to rent it and help people make companies I guess within that environment. And so super neat. Turk is one of our next ones on here. He is in the investment space ultimately. So Turk goes through kind of his lived experiences, why he finds it interesting, and what he's seen from his earlier in career experience of in the market of investing, and what maybe no tips, hints, anything like that. Nothing too heavy, but just some observations over time, and just a really interesting environment. Turk's very passionate about what he does, and he wants to help his clients. So take a listen there on that one. And then we have Yamilo, and we met at a recent event here. She plans events and has easy accessibility in mind the entire way through. She has some corporate experience, and her story sharing initially when we met and what we cover in the episode is really talking about exactly that, how those lived experiences changed how she felt she could have an impact on helping companies make things accessible. She tells a very touching story about someone leaving an event that actually couldn't get in due to construction. And that's just, and she has a very great message and story to go along with that on the personal side of things. So, and that wraps up, along with this episode, the end of season 2 for us on a podcast. We're really looking forward to season 3. Already have our lineup started and starting to head that way. So expect, a little bit of a heightened experience in next season. And we thank you so much for checking us out on season 2 here. And hopefully there was at least one thing you took away if you were listening to some of our episodes or seeing our shorts out there online. And just want to say thank you. We really appreciate the support and your viewership.